How about that, Gunners? We're through to the next round in pretty dramatic fashion. It was a good end to an indifferent game. But here we go. Let's have a look at it. Arsenal versus Newcastle. This is Blog on You Gunners. So the first half of this one was pretty slow going. I don't think it's unreasonable to say. The first 10 minutes aside, of course. We started the match pretty lively. Some good movement, some good shots on goal. I think Reece Nelson got one off pretty early. On target, which is good. We didn't catch it as well as he might have liked, but the intent was there. And we had a couple of efforts like that early doors as Newcastle were unsettled or were unable to get into their shape early on. But after that sort of 10-15 minute period, Newcastle really started to sit deep, and we saw the pattern of the game emerge from there. They'd obviously decided that they were coming for penalties, and in that scenario it's always a nightmare to get around teams like that. 2 banks of 5 literally at some point. I think the commentators said that the best player in their own box was Andy Carroll, and I think that speaks volumes that their one attacking outlet spent the majority of his time in the first half heading balls out of his own box and being their best player, and he was heading them to no one. He was heading them straight back to the Arsenal midfield. But at the same time, when you're playing a team sat as deep as that and as compact as that, there's not too much you can do. And after that initial 10-minute flurry, it wasn't fantastic. It wasn't great going for Arsenal. They made all the play, they had all the possession, all the territory, but they struggled to do much with it. And I think that's a combination of things, a combination of a lack of attacking abilities, maybe not the right word, but options, creative options in order to knit things together. But 2, just as true as that, is the fact that Newcastle had no ambition in this game, had no intention to get forward, weren't even really pressing that much in the first half, and as a result, we had nowhere really to go. We struggled to break on them simply because they weren't coming out. So the game settled into a pretty monotonous pattern on that score. And try as we might, and we did try, we were fairly productive, fairly ambitious, but there's only so much you can do. And we couldn't find the cutting edge in order to really break them down. We started this one with Smith Rowe on the bench, with Saka on the bench, with Alex Lacazette on the bench. 3 of our standout players were given some time off. We also rested Rob Holding and Hector Bellerin, which is absolutely fair enough. I would have liked to have seen Kieran Tierney rested, frankly. I'm not sure why he wasn't. The kid seems to be able to play relentlessly. If anyone needed a rest after the run he's had, it was him and the shifts that he puts in. But he was out there and in the event did 120 minutes, which is, I'm sure, the last thing that anyone wanted. But he put in another shift. He started. I didn't think he would, but Pablo Mari started alongside David Luiz. We saw Pepe brought back into the team, Willian and Oba back into the team, Oba through the centre. And it was okay. It was fine in the first half, but not as productive, I'm sure, as we have been in the Premier League of late in the last 3 matches. And so, fairly frustrating watch, but not too much to be worried about because Newcastle weren't threatening Bernd Leno in any way, shape or form, and clearly had no intention of doing so. So at the end of that first half, it was okay. There was stuff to build on, and I'm sure the manager would have said as much at the break. So into the second half, the manager kept it as it was. He didn't look to make any changes at the break itself. He gave it a little chance to do something new, to be a bit different. But alas, it wasn't to be so. In fairness to Newcastle, they did push up a touch more in that second half and showed something approaching ambition or endeavour. They started to press the Arsenal defence and looked to capitalise on mistakes, turning the ball over in our third, which was smarter from them, which made it slightly more interesting a contest. Not that they were fantastically productive with it. I don't think they have the players of the necessary quality to do that. The only one, Almiron, spent more time with his back to goal than he did facing it. And Andy Carroll's not the sort of guy that's going to dribble past 10 people. But credit to them, they were more ambitious, and we didn't look any more threatening. Really, we really struggled to get it going in the 10 minutes of that second half, and that was a real shame for the players, for the fringe players that were brought in. We spoke in the pre-match pod about players taking their chances, about these fringe players proving that they've still got some value to add. And unfortunately, there wasn't too much here that would convince the manager that is the case. Reece Nelson had an opportunity to show himself, to really stake a claim for greater inclusion, maybe to stay with the club in the window instead of going out on loan. But it really didn't come off for him on the day. He started well in that first 10 minutes, as I said, but after that he really didn't combine well with Cedric at all down the right or anyone in front of him, and he found it tough going. He wasn't particularly productive, and he was the first to make way. He wouldn't have been my choice to make way first. 10 minutes in, I would have picked Willian, but he made way. Emile Smith Rowe came on, and the dynamic shifted. It changed. 10 minutes after that, Willian did make way, and it was Bukayo Saka that came on, and these are minutes that I'm sure the manager would really have preferred not to have been giving out to these players. They really could have done with a day off entirely. But as it happens, the fringe players couldn't get the job done. These guys came in, and the team was more productive thereafter. I wouldn't say it was a dramatic shift, because that would be unfair to the guys that left the pitch. But it was better. It was pacier. The movement was quicker. It was more intelligent. And we started to really ratchet up the pressure. Our increased ambition left some spaces at the back, and Newcastle enjoyed greater possession, if not too much more threat for the majority of that second half. In the last 10, that changed a little bit as we really started to get desperate and push. We brought Granit Xhaka on in the midfield for Joe Willock, another young man who, with a chance to shine, didn't really do it. Nothing worked for Joe. He was getting wound up, giving away niggly fouls. He was struggling to get beyond the ball because of the poor passing. Frankly, when you've got Mohamed El Neni and Willian as your passing midfielders, it's not going to end well, and it didn't. The passing was unambitious and coming up against a defence that was leaving no spaces, and as a result, there wasn't much opportunity for Joe, and he suffered, and it wasn't a good day for him. He didn't take the opportunity, laid at his feet, and on came Xhaka, who was much better, frankly. And that's a subject for another day. The future of Granit and the future of this club. But fair play to him, he's taken a lot of stick. But when he's good, he's really good. And his passing was great. It opened things up. It was more dynamic, more forward-thinking. And the opportunities started to ratchet up and were of better quality. That, unfortunately, didn't lead to a goal. And we owe our keeper, Bernardo, a great deal of gratitude for stopping Newcastle stealing the win. And make no mistake, it would have been a huge steal later on if they'd have won it. They got the ball on the break in a rare attacking moment for them. The ball broke at the back post, and it was a fantastic save from Leno in the first instance, and then an even better reaction, something you knew that they trained all day for, just judging by the training videos that Arsenal put out alone, to tap the ball away from an on-rushing Andy Carroll who swung at air in the end, and thankfully he did, otherwise he'd have buried it. And Newcastle would have stolen the most unworthy of wins I've witnessed in a long time. So that kept us in it. We went to extra time, and we really took over from there. There was no looking back for Arsenal. Newcastle were tiring badly across the pitch, had given up on any semblance of attacking ambition at that point, and were holding on for the penalties. Andy Carroll went off, because I'm sure he's not accustomed to playing that many minutes, and their intent was clear. We capitalised our young guns. Alex Lacazette came on for Pepe, another man who, you could say he didn't take the most of his opportunity, but he didn't have a bad game. He did a lot. He had 5 shots on goal, I think it was, which is a good return. He was ambitious. He was doing his defensive work. It didn't come off for him on the day. He made way for Lacazette, and Lacazette gets himself an assist 2 or 3 minutes after coming on, linking up superbly with Smith Rowe. His movement was fantastic. Finish was even better, getting on the end of a Lacazette header. The man is really thriving at centre forward, not having to do the running back that he was. Great finish, great goal, great movement, and that was the tie done and dusted. Newcastle didn't have the energy to come back from there. Brilliant moment. The icing on the cake for us was a second goal, and this time for Aubameyang, a man who badly needed a goal, which is probably why he started this one. He had 6 shots on the day. I think I saw a statistic which is productive. Yeah, you can say that. I mean, I'm not sure many of the chances were gilt edge, one of those aside, but he got in the right zone where we want to see him at the right time. Got on the end of Kieran Tierney's excellent cross to tuck home from close range. He couldn't miss from there. Great to get him back among the goals, and hopefully that lifts a weight on his shoulders. He's been desperate for a goal for a while. You could see that in his frustration and his mannerisms. But he was in the right place at the right time. Instinct took over. Goal, 2-0, icing on the cake. We're through. A great moment. And a brilliant segue into our men of the match. It would have gone solely to Emile Smith Rowe. But that would have been unfair on Kieran Tierney, who popped up with an assist at the end. Put in 120 minutes and was probably the best attacking outlet in the entire match. Some of the crosses he was putting in on the day were out of this world. I can think of a cutback that was scuffed in the second half, that if Reece Nelson would have run over it, would have gone right into the path of Pepe and would have been a goal. I can think of a cross for Joe Willock that landed right on his head that Joe headed on target but probably should have scored with. Another one for Aubameyang that landed right on his head from left that he should have scored with but skewed badly. Clearly we're not very good at headers, but the balls this guy's putting into the box, including the one he put in for Aubameyang's goal, they're just out of this world. They're unbelievable. He's beating his man regularly. He's full of running. He's full of energy. He's an amazing player. If he's not doubled his value, I'll eat my hat. Sensational. We need to tie him down to it or extend his deal, because this guy is player of the season for me so far. Unbelievable. And alongside Smith Rowe, whose contribution was obvious, they're the men of the match. They're the standout guys in this one. And we need to keep them fit and happy and rested and prepared, because they're going to be so crucial for us. I won't get too bogged down in missed opportunities and letdowns for this one, other than to say that the fringe players had an opportunity here, the likes of Pepe and Reece Nelson and Joe Willock and Willian, to make a mark and do something different and keep themselves in the forefront of the manager's mind. And for the most part, they didn't do that. They didn't seize the opportunity, and it took the arrival of the better players, the first team players, to get the job done, and that's a shame. I don't think any of them has forced themselves into contention or can now be seen as a serious alternative. They'll have another chime, maybe in the 4th round or maybe in the Europa League, I don't know. Their time will come again, but this was a disappointing day for them. I'll leave it there. I don't want to go in too hard on the guys, because we've won and it's a whole team effort. So I think, in summary, this was a good win in the end. Not as sharp or creative or decisive as we might have liked. We would have liked to have rested a lot of the guys entirely, given them the full 10 days off. It didn't happen in the end, but we got a win, and we saw the real arrival of Smith Rowe on the biggest stage. And we've got to be happy with that. I'm delighted with it. I'm sure you are too. Great to see Arsenal on the BBC, that we can all get a chance to watch and enjoy. And we can look ahead now to next week, to Crystal Palace at the Emirates. In the meantime, you take care then. I'll speak to you soon.